From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
Does Nancy Pelosi support monthly stimulus checks under the fourth stimulus package? Over the last few weeks, you've heard this channel detail how senators want to give you monthly stimulus checks under the fourth stimulus package, how House members want to give you monthly stimulus checks under the fourth stimulus package, and how they're generally progressives in the House. So does Nancy Pelosi want to give you monthly stimulus checks? For the first time ever on this channel, this recording will show you a new insight from a new article published minutes ago that reveals where Nancy Pelosi may stand on certain issues going forward and where her allegiance may stand when it comes to AOC and the squad. You're going to be surprised by what I have to reveal. Also, the president's about to go live from the Oval Office. I'll have that video as well. It's a big afternoon's recording covering your fourth stimulus, your third stimulus, your student loan debt forgiveness, your $1,700 of college financial aid, and your business grants. This is Afternoons LALATE. What a big afternoon it is. Thank you for joining me on Afternoons LA. How you doing? Made it to the weekend? Away we go. This is the first of two Afternoons LA shows. The next one's in 2 hours from now. Then Evenings LA, and then Late Night. Thank you for joining me on a big show. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also like this video. If you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Multiple stimulus checks, hashtag MST, is being pushed by both senators and House members. I've been detailing it for you over the last few weeks. But for the first time in this recording, I'm going to go over with you whether Nancy Pelosi wants it as well. Now, ultimately, and I'm going to also show whether if she wants it or doesn't want it, if it has an impact on this bottom line as well. Let me go over the details for you first off the bat. The proposals come from both House members and senators. But before we go over the proposals itself, let's go over who's proposing them. In the House, it's a series of progressives who are proposing monthly stimulus checks. In the Senate, there are Democrats who are generally non-progressives. It's important to understand that the House members are generally junior members of Congress. They're new members of Congress, whereas the senators are movers and shakers. They're leaders of the Democratic Party. They are elder statesmen. So how do the two proposals differ? The House members want to pay you stimulus checks for pandemic plus 1 year. So that's at least 18 months of stimulus checks. The senators want to pay you a stimulus check from now till December. And then the amounts are slightly different as well. The House members want to pay you $2,000 the first month and $1,000 every month thereafter for pandemic plus 1 year, about 18 checks of $1,000. Senators, unknown amount, but word on the street is they want to pay anywhere from $2,000 a month or $1,400 a month over 6 months. That's $12,000 a person or $8,400 a person. So where does Nancy Pelosi stand on all that? I'll answer that in just a second. And I'm also going to cut into a live feed the president's about to have with meeting with the Prime Minister of Japan. Very, very exciting. Well, here is the surprising detail. You know, the progressives' introduction of multiple stimulus checks got a lot of press a few weeks ago. And I want to explain where that's coming from. It actually takes two forms. First, you have 100 House members who have written a letter saying they want monthly stimulus checks. So there's a House letter of House members. I'm not talking about the senators, I'm just talking about the House members at the moment. They've written a letter, over 100 House members. Separate and apart from the letter, there's a standalone bill currently in the House calling for that $1,000 per month after $2,000 the first month. So where's Nancy Pelosi's position on this? Well, this is what's fascinating. Minutes ago, a new report published by Politico details that Nancy Pelosi's position with the squad, which refers to AOC's progressive friends, is not as hostile or edgy or antagonistic as the public believes. Oh boy, this is fascinating. So while Nancy Pelosi may not be buddy-buddy with AOC, with Omar, she is. Pelosi has reportedly kept quiet for over a year her relationship with Omar, which apparently is very close, and that Omar actually refers to her as Auntie Nancy. I'm not kidding you. This is a new report from Politico. It's important that you understand this because this is the group that introduced that standalone bill to the House for monthly stimulus checks. You always wonder if this is something that would antagonize Pelosi, Speaker of the House, or delight her, or be much of nothing. The report went on to say that Nancy Pelosi has a historic record that has not been seen since 1956 of getting her party, her House, to always vote on party lines, and that they rarely dissent. Well, with 100 House members writing a letter that there needs to be monthly stimulus checks, and with Pelosi buddies with apparently the person behind the one of the standalone bills for stimulus checks, this is really good news. Now, here's what you also need to know on the other side of the spectrum. The stimulus checks, the monthly stimulus checks, don't have to come even from the House. You don't even need to have one draw of the pen from Pelosi to give you stimulus checks. It can come simply from the Senate. Let's go over how this works. When the Senate receives the bill, the second part of the bill, the substantive part of the bill from the House, and they look at the bill, then during the recon path, they have 2 days to amend it. And those 2 days is called the vote-a-rama. That is where the senators would put in the stimulus checks. It has never been thought of that the House members would actually put the stimulus checks in there. Rather, the senators would guide the legislation. Now, the details from today suggest, well, if Pelosi is tight with the same people who are proposing these monthly stimulus checks, maybe she might put that in there before the senators actually get the bill. But even if she doesn't, no worries, because the senators put it in. 21 of 50 Democratic senators are going to put the monthly stimulus checks in during a vote-a-rama, and that vote-a-rama is a period in time in which they amend bills. Amending the bills is very, very different than anything you have seen from Speaker Pelosi. Let me explain. When you do a vote-a-rama, it literally is 48 hours at the 11th hour. It's at the last second. And how does it work? It may appear to you and me as outsiders as off the cuff, impromptu, random, spur of the moment, but it's anything like that. Rather, what the people who do the amendments with is they write them up months ahead of time when they know the bill's coming their way, and they write it up. They caucus privately with the people they want to get on vote with. They speak to Leader Schumer to see if he will push it and call it for a vote. They determine when to call it for a vote during the discussions, because they don't want something else that conflicts with it passing before their item. And they get it totally lined up. It's about as cagey as a fox and a prey. They literally know the minute, time, and how they're going to do it. And so while you may have seen in 2020 the whole narrative of Mnuchin versus Pelosi, of how things just so went slow and delirious and sometimes not getting a lot of traction, vote-a-ramas are very, very quick. So would Speaker Pelosi speak ahead of time with Leader Schumer about amendments? This is what's really interesting. Here's what you need to know. Yes and no. In the third stimulus package, before the third stimulus package got to the Senate, we were told this by Speaker Pelosi and Leader Schumer, that their subcommittees of both the House and the Senate had been working on the third stimulus package and the stimulus checks all along. And so there's nothing really to modify when the bill gets to the Senate. We've already been working. Our two teams have been working. So when you get to the Senate, there's no need to work on any other changes. Schumer said that. Pelosi said that. I got to tell you, it's a nice poker line, or nice poker face line, because guess what? Schumer already had prepared not one, but 3 amendments of his own when he said, we're not sending anything to subcommittee. We're already done. He was not done, and he knew he wasn't done. What was he ready to do? He was ready to pounce Purple Hawks with the student loan debt forgiveness becoming a non-taxable event, an amendment he was about to add. He was ready to pounce on the $10,200 of unemployment to be tax-free under 2020. He was not done. He was telling people that they were done, especially Republicans. What is the plan? The plan, it seemed like, that he wanted to project to his opponents. I'm not going to do any amendments. We're just done. We're done. We're going to get this done really quickly. We're not going to subcommittees. We're done. It was done for them in his eyes, not done for him. So that's what I want you to know when we're going into fourth stimulus, is that Leader Schumer may say, we're done, but he's not done for purposes of you and him. He's done for the purposes of people that don't concern him. And so that's what's really important to understand, is that ultimately the president will not be putting stimulus checks in his proposal. The president won't be writing a bill. Rather, the president will present to the Speaker of the House what he'd like in there. At that point, then she's going to say, okay, first step is the reconciliation. So she's going to have her subcommittee write up a reconciliation bill, call it for a vote, then off to the Senate it goes. Signed in the House, then off to the Senate it goes. When it's signed in the Senate, then off to the president. And then at that point, when the president agrees and signs into law the reconciliation, the tow truck has passed over the finish line. That's step 1, done. Step 2, tow truck goes back to the House to pick up the tow hitch. The tow hitch is literally the substance of the reconciliation bill. And that starts with Speaker Pelosi taking the president's proposals, not bill. He doesn't write a bill. He's not a legislator. He's the executive branch leader. Takes his proposal, puts them in there, and then adds in her stuff. I want to add this, $12 ice cream. She adds her stuff. If she wants to add in monthly stimulus checks, as her friend Omar wants, and the other Democrats in the House, that's her opportunity if she wants to put in there. She doesn't have to. And when she does put it in there, or whatever she puts it in there, then it goes for a vote on the House floor. To the House floor, it goes back to the Senate. And then finally to the Senate, kicks in that vote-a-rama. At the vote-a-rama is where they would put those monthly stimulus checks in. It's important for you to understand this whole push across the board, because people always wonder who, where, how, not from the president, likely not from Speaker Pelosi, but could come from Speaker Pelosi. And now you know for the first time on this channel that while Omar, the squad, the progressives want monthly stimulus checks, Pelosi is apparently very close to Omar, unbeknownst to the public, and would not likely oppose anything Omar wants or 100 members of a caucus if they really do wish to have that. Great news you're hearing for the first time ever. We're waiting to see if the president's about to go live from the White House with the Prime Minister of Japan. Because this is the last live recording of the day before we go into tape recordings coming up next, if you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comments below, and I will answer your questions about anything. So far, we've been covering fourth stimulus. I want to cut back to third stimulus for just a second. Let me tell you what's going on with third stimulus. Third stimulus checks of $1,400, 2 million of them went out on Wednesday. And they went out to people who were both people who never filed tax returns and never used the non-filing tool. And that included only 300,000 veterans. So the remainder were non-veterans. Well, will there be another round of stimulus checks going by direct deposit this weekend? We won't know till tomorrow. Tomorrow, Saturday, is when we see the IRS tool update itself based upon new rounds of stimulus going out on Fridays. If a round of stimulus checks go out today again, and you have not gone to your stimulus check, and you're not expecting it by mail, then watch the IRS tool tomorrow because it may update itself. Also, for those mail checks, they are very late. They're upwards of 3 weeks late now, and they continue to roll out late across the board. Meantime, the president has a new video from the vice president discussing the importance of third stimulus and why third stimulus is needed for women and people who left the workforce and the workplace because of the pandemic. If you have questions or comments, drop them in the comments now, and I will cut in at any time during the video in anticipation of the president to answer your questions.
They will help providers as they take the steps needed to provide safe and healthy learning environments, including purchasing masks, improving ventilation, and making other changes that allow for physical distancing. These funds will also help providers keep people on the payroll or rehire those who have been laid off. All told, with these funds, states can help hundreds of thousands of providers, serving more than 5 million children. The American Rescue Plan is also making childcare more affordable for families in 2 big ways. It gives states enough funding to provide over 800,000 families with subsidies to pay for childcare. And it dramatically expands the child and dependent care tax credit, which allows families to get back as much as a tax credit for as much as half of their spending on child care for children under the age of 13.
One of the details I want to cut into on this video that's very important for you to know is that while she talks about money going to states for eviction and mortgage assistance, there's a new report out today that disputes that claim. The new report out today says that second stimulus, December stimulus for rent, utilities, and then homeowner stuff like mortgage assistance, property utility bills, and similar, has not landed in a lot of states like Florida. This is second stimulus, so we're not even at third stimulus yet. So I've had some very nice viewers reach out to me and say, I can't find it. What's going on? The new report says that there are some states, they have no idea why they have not gotten the money from the federal government yet for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and more from second stimulus. Now, as to third stimulus, I can report that third stimulus is landing in May. So that third stimulus is landing in May for mortgage, rent, utilities, and more. And if you're a volunteer and you're watching this video, please inform the people you help that May is going to be the big rollout of new money for rent, utility, food, mortgage assistance, and more.
So if your family is making less than $125,000 a year and you pay $8,000 a year for childcare for one child, you can get $4,000 off of your taxes.
Bratty Princess asks a great question. Are people on SSI and SSDI getting the child tax credit? Yes. So the video that you're watching here from the vice president is not a particularly clear video. She's not being particularly clear, sadly to say, and it may be confusing some viewers. The video, she talks with rent, and then suddenly she's on to child care. Let me explain what she's referring to child care. 50% of your child care costs are now tax credits under your 2021 tax return because of third stimulus, up to a certain amount, which I've been detailing a while. That is different than the child tax credit. The $3,600 or $3,000 for child tax credit, that is the money that starts paying out in July. So that one person, Princess, just asked, do people on SSI and SSDI qualify for it? Absolutely do. Who doesn't get it? It's anyone who makes more than $75,000 does not get the full $3,600. It phases out. It phases out completely at 100,000. So let's say if you made $80,000, you'll get some money, but you'll get less than $3,600 if the child's 5 or newborn. But it's not tied to to anything besides that parameter. Bonnie, thank you for coming to Purple Hawk. Welcome to the family. The most important thing you need to know, though, if you're on SSI or STI, Social Security and Railroad benefits, is that if you do not file tax returns, IRS may not know where you are. And so this may repeat a reoccurring problem with some viewers, if you're not getting stimulus checks, they don't know the child exists. The big issue is, does IRS know the child exists? If IRS does not know the child exists, you need them to know the child exists. As we approach July, we're going to learn a little bit more about how to inform IRS about that child. Remember, if you're on SSI and SSDI and you don't file tax returns and don't list that child as a dependent, they won't know that child exists. Welcome, Bonnie, to the family. The president has still not gone live. Salty Salt, state and local tax deductions go back a few years. Great comment from, I just missed who that was, but that was a great question. Are they going to put off seeing how many people, we're not reading the comment on screen. When will President Biden go by reconciliation of the forced stimulus? Barbara, that's a great question. We don't know. We do know that the press secretary said this morning that he is spending a little bit more time on doing bipartisan discussions starting next week. You want him to start reconciliation as soon as possible. Great question. And with that, Chris says we need monthly 2,000. Absolutely, Chris. Very well said. Let me again show you the big graphic for stimulus right here. If they got this done in July, then you would get 6 months of checks. The senators have not said how much they want to pay you per month, but word on the street is either $2,000 or $1,400. This would amount to either $8,400 or $12,000. Wow. I mean, look at that graphic. That is the single biggest payout you've seen of anything for an individual ever on this channel. This is something you absolutely want to get behind and you want to push for Purple Power, because this is where you want to be. This is incredible sums of money that we've not seen of any magnitude like this on this channel. It's important to understand that the push is underway now. The push is underway now to give you multiple stimulus checks. People want to give you $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 in stimulus checks. So you need to be laser focused on this, laser focused on reconciliation, laser focused on supporting the people who want to give you those monthly stimulus checks. You don't want to be talking about other things. You don't want to be talking about, what about that $2,400? What, you don't want like $12,000? I have $12,000 for you. Why are you talking about $2,400 when I got $12,000 for you? Well, what about that $4,000 I didn't get last year? I got $8,000 for you right now. You want to be on message and being pushing for this big money, because this is the window of opportunity to get the biggest payout you have ever gotten. I think as a family, we've done a very good job over the last 7 days to really understand this is now where things are going. The day started with forced stimulus, now the number one search story on a major financial news channel that has it as its front page news story. So you see how this is now becoming mainstream. You want to push, 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 and you don't want to get off message. And with that, it doesn't look like the president's going to go live during this broadcast. So I guess you're going to miss him in the Oval Office, but you'll see him another time. So thank you for joining me on a big new Afternoons LA. I'm back in 2 hours from now, as Afternoons LA has a major show with a lot of jaw-dropping details you've never heard until that show. Let me show you the schedule coming up later today. Afternoons LA continues in 2 hours from now at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 2 hours from now is the big Afternoons LA show. Then 2 hours after that is Evenings LA. And then 2 hours after that is LA Late Night. The irreverent Sirloin and Javita Lake give their commentary and their laughs about today's major news events and their insight. I'll see you in 2 hours from now as Afternoons LA continues at 6 p.m. with a major, big broadcast of today's financial news and stimulus developments. Stay informed, stay focused. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. It's our 1 year anniversary. We're trying to get to 400,000 subscribers. April 25th, it's our 1 year anniversary. Also, like this video. And if you're not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.